What will be the final pet of the Pet Shop of Horrors? Hey everyone, welcome to Prince the Gay. I'm your host Connie, and welcome back. We were just on a break for the past week, and it's been even longer that we've been on a break from this series. Because we got to this, I want to say back in October, we did episode 3. Um, and we haven't been able to get back to this since. I just haven't gone back to this. And some of you who are new or might have forgotten, you might be wondering, why is this on the YouTube slot on Mondays? Well, to put it simply, the YouTube slot is YouTube or YouTube adjacent. It's for anything that doesn't really fit into a full series or a movie reaction. And that includes these kind of short OVAs, because Pet Shop of Horrors is only 4 episodes. This is the final episode of this OVA. And apparently the manga series does go on much longer. There is like a full detailed story. But this OVA was only 4 episodes, and so that's all we've got for the anime. Um, but yeah, so we are back. We took this last week off, just as a way to refresh myself going into the spring. And we are now officially in the spring season. And I thought this was a fun way to kind of kick things off. Starting the spring season of this channel with finishing something, closing something out, and ending this series that we had, this set of OVAs that we had started a while back. So each of these episodes being episodic, outside of like the detective who's like trying to figure things out with the count, um, makes it so there's not really too much to talk about in terms of continuity and stuff. Really, it's just the detective who's continuing to try and figure out what the Count's deal is and why all these people who like visit his pet shop and get these pets end up dying and shit. It's it's definitely the main mystery of this, and I don't think it's going to be resolved here. Simply because this is the last episode, and again, the manga goes on much further and has more of an actual story. Now, fun little thing going into this, I actually had a really hard time finding this. Um, for some reason, this episode in particular isn't as readily available on the download sites I use as the first 3 episodes, and I don't know why that is. I found a couple episodes in sub because we're watching in sub and everything. Um, that I could make work, but we have to watch it off the site. I couldn't download it. Um, there was one from the site that I'm using that has downloadable files, but they're not working. Like the sites for the download site, the redirect sites for the files won't open up properly and all. So I don't know what's going on there. But a lot of these sites never actually update file links if the link goes bad or something, if like the site goes down or whatever, or the file's taken off the site for whatever reason. These websites never actually update things with that, so might just be a case of it was an old and now bad link that they just never updated. Um, but yeah, I found files in the dub I could have downloaded, and I was actually considering it for a bit there. But I decided we should just keep with what we've been doing, even if that means I have to watch it off the browser. For those of you who may not know, the reason why I don't typically do that is because I don't have the best computer. And when I tend to watch things off the browser, a lot of times it's ended up like being very sticky and freezy, and it just lags a lot. It's not a good viewing experience. And yeah, I understand that, like, when I watch things off VLC Media Player, sometimes the media player will also have these kinds of issues pop up. Sometimes, like, the screen will, like, go gray and everything while it's, like, rendering the visuals or something. I don't know exactly why it does it, but it has issues too. But some of the times with, like, the players on browsers and stuff, I've had issues like where it would freeze or where it would just like lag like crazy to the point where it's pretty much unwatchable. It's a different kind of thing than the issues that I have with VLC. So, letting you know right off the bat that if any issues do arise, it is because of that. The window is freshly refreshed, so we shouldn't have any issue with like it having been open for too long. Hopefully we can get through this without too much of a problem. That's my wish for this. Um but I'm interested to see like what they do for an ending here, considering, the fact that the story is nowhere near finished. I'm very curious to see what they do, and hopefully, I'm not expecting like any big satisfying ending, especially with this being so episodic. But hopefully, it leaves off in a place where it's like, okay, that was a cool way to end things. So let's just get into it and find out. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, what's the deal with the animals, Count D and the Kirin especially, seeing Nancy as the king and everything? Or whatever the fuck was going on. What was that? Was that like just, like, why was he bowing to her? And why did that suddenly, like, make everything change? In terms of... like, how Count D and how the Kirin, like, were handling this situation. Like, what the fuck? Am I the only one just severely confused by that? Because that felt extremely important. And I don't know, maybe the manga goes more into it. And I understand this is like a 4-episode OVA. It was never going to cover the entire thing. It was never going to, like, really capture the entire story. But, like, that seems so important to just not address at all. It's just... it's so weird. But anyway, so we have an American politician who is a good guy who has become, like, obsessed with, his status and everything, and has kind of, like, lost his way. You have his secretary, Kelly, who is someone who Roger saved when they were kids from poverty and everything. And you have the wife, Nancy, who is apparently the king of these animals and everything, or something. I don't know. Again, that was never really addressed, but we find out that Kelly has been kind of, like, utilizing Roger's charisma and everything in order to, like, push forward his own goals. His goals, of course, being to have Roger become the president and, stop poverty, or at least work towards stopping poverty and the like, to help people. Basically, stopping the very things that he himself had to go through. Not Roger, but, Kelly. Nancy has found that her marriage has kind of stalled. It's become loveless, and she just doesn't really like what Roger's become. And so she's even like considering, like, with the taking off of the wedding ring, clearly considering leaving him. But we find out, and it's pretty obvious, but we find out that Kelly actually has a thing for her. And so at the end, when he becomes Roger through the Kieran's wish, he, or well, through his wish to the Kieran, he dedicates himself to making her smile. In fact, that was his wish. He wanted her to smile. So he ended up becoming Roger. And although it does seem like they're gonna still like aim for the White House, he's gonna like remotivate things a bit to give her what she wants as well, to give her, a nice family with birds and a dog and everything. Yeah, very classic stuff. So he's going to not only work to get into the presidency, but make her life a lot better. And to, make her happy. That's what he truly wants. It's interesting, but I feel like there's so much depth to this that is just missing. On top of the stuff with Nancy and the animal reaction to her, there's also to take into account, like, Roger as a character is just kind of empty. Like, the only depth he's given is through others and their interactions with him. From what we actually see of Roger in this, like, he's barely a character. And they could have done a lot with him being, a politician and a presidential hopeful for the future. They could have easily done a lot with his character, but instead, no. We do see he is a good guy, though. Like, he makes a big point of, like, well, both him and Kelly make a big point of trying to stop the bus, trying to save the kids. Like, they risk their lives, like, very actively to do so. It shows that they are, at least to some degree, good people. And while Roger ends up just dying instantly after they crash, the fact that Kelly survives and then is implanted into Roger's body, with Roger being implanted into his, is just a wild, interesting, like, ending twist. But then it's like, unlike others, this one doesn't entirely have as big of a message as the previous episodes of this. Like, there's still obviously a message about, like, finding your priorities in life and doing what's right for others over yourself and everything. But at the same time, it's not as deep of a message as, like, in regards to, like, the previous episodes, like with the parents and everything, the one guy who got, like, the mermaid chick or whatever. It's like there were deeper messages here, and it just feels like this was. It feels like this episode was trying to be something bigger as, like, a finale for this OVA. Because having, the politician angle, having having Nancy being, like, some kind of king to these animals, a lot of weird shit going on. And it tried to have, like, this, like, climactic moment in there with the bus and everything. And it even had a somewhat happy ending, though Roger had to die for it to, occur, which is kind of fucked up. It's like you had to sacrifice Roger's life just to be able to have this happy ending with Nancy, which is, predicated on lies and just falsehoods in general, but still. It's it has a bigger scale, I would say, than the previous episodes, but at the same time, it's also one that I feel like would have benefited from just being longer. Like, you could make an entire film out of this episode. And I think it would have worked better as a film. Because there's just a lot of context that is never explained or just needs further, like, delving into. Um, I I'm not 100%, but I also think the animation was a little lesser than the previous episodes. It's been a while since I've seen any of the previous ones, so I can't say for 100% sure. But it felt very static compared to what I'm remembering from the previous ones. And it just felt like it wasn't. And I know this is older. I know it's an older OVA, but still. It just feels like it wasn't as, like, interesting in its animation and everything. The voice acting, out, all that was fine. No issues there. Um, yeah, it was probably the weakest of these episodes, like by a long shot. But it wasn't necessarily bad. It was just not great. Both of those things can't exist together. Um, yeah, I don't know what else to say about this one. It was interesting, but just talking in general about this OVA series as a whole, this really could benefit from like a full adaptation of the source material. I think it would actually make it a lot better if they did like a modern remake of this. Modern remake and everything. Maybe if they can get back the same voice for Count D, um, you can do a lot more with the story and allow it to feel a little more put together. Better animation and everything can help as well. I feel like there's so much more they could do. Maybe even like lengthen things out a little bit. Like have certain like extend things a little instead of having like certain plot points be just this. Extend them a bit and have them be a little have them have a little more time to breathe, even if that means you have to put them into two separate episodes, like to expand upon things and create original content. Like a lot of people like hate the idea of like, oh, you can't do that, you have to stick to the creator's vision. It's like sometimes it might be better to expand on things with anime original content if it serves the purpose of the plot and the characters, etc., etc., which for this series it would. It's like I just feel like they could help make things a little more precise with everything. And for all I know, in the manga, this a lot of this stuff might be answered in future parts, like with Nancy and everything. These characters might come back, and the entire questions that we had here might be answered. I don't know, but I just feel like there's a lot missing here that is affecting my enjoyment of at least this episode. But it's not bad, like I said. It's just not great. And I think it was a worthwhile watch. It wasn't really that scary or anything. It was more thought provoking. But this series of OVAs um, is definitely very interesting, very unique, very fascinating concepts. So I would love to hear what you think of it. Tell me in the comments below, what are your thoughts on not only this final episode of Pet Shop of Horrors, but the series as a whole. And I will say right now that there will probably be more shows like this that are like just short OVAs and stuff that'll be used for the YouTube slot continuing forward. It's not just gonna be like, just the YouTube stuff. It's YouTube and YouTube adjacent. That's what this slot has kind of always been for a while now, and that's what we're gonna keep it as. So there will be more stuff like this coming in the future for this slot. I'm going to try to do it more often than, I've done for this. I'm going to try. And we're probably only going to do one series of that at a time, but still. Yeah. We'll see how things go and keep updating as we can, as we do. Yeah. But that being said, thank you all so much, as always, for tuning in. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.